Welcome back, baseball fans, to the 69-72 Carryover League. This video is going to be a review of what happened in the first round of the postseason tournament. So our season, this is kind of an overlook at the season again. We've played six series between all baseball teams before the All-Star break, had an All-Star game. And then a postseason tournament begins and runs through the middle of August. It's 3 rounds of a tournament. The first round, teams play up to 7 games for the purpose of distinguishing first and second place and third and fourth place, and ultimately 8 fourth place teams, their seasons are over. And then next thing we do is what we're about to do is embark on the up to 5 games to distinguish the number 1 seeds across the league, their overall seeding. Nobody gets eliminated. And then 3s play 2s across divisions for the same thing. Now we're going to eliminate the 8 teams with the worst record. They don't have to be the third place teams. There could be third place teams who advance. But the 8 best advance and the 8 worst are gone. Then, with 16 teams left in the third and final round of the tournament, we have up to 3 games to distinguish 8 visits 5, 7 visits 6, to get down to the final 5th and 6th wildcard teams for the playoffs, which begin after this. So let's take a look at the standings and see what's happened and see what's going to happen moving forward. Let's take a look at the teams who have been eliminated first. And I want to go over to the National League East first, because it's one of the better teams. It's the Atlanta Braves, who were eliminated by the Marlins. And the Braves were expected to compete for the division, but the pitching let them down. Once you got past Phil Niekro, the remainder of Atlanta's pitching staff did not do very well. And, well, that's sort of what happened during this era. We know the Atlanta Braves did become the first team to win the National League West in 1969 when divisions were created. They lost to the Mets in the National League Championship Series, but it wasn't because of the Met pitching. It was believe it or not, the Mets bats bashed the Braves pitching in those 3 games. So the Braves are the 8th and best team to be eliminated, and will probably end up with the 8th overall pick in the draft. Keeping it going in the National League, the Cubs, we know what their history was in '69. They kind of faded in that year, and the Mets emerged. I don't think the Cubs got over it because they played a pretty lackluster season. The bats and the starting pitching wasn't there, and that was supposed to be a strength. Didn't work out, and of course they're in a division with the Reds, and that makes it tough. Now, the next division in the Mountain Division, the Rockies, if you watched this last year in 2020, you saw they were the division winner, and they were the stars of summer last year. They were a big winning team while the remaining 3 teams were under 500. This year, it's flipped. Las Vegas had the 4th worst record in baseball this year, and they're currently in first place, and the Rockies got eliminated. This shows what I was mentioning in the videos with these teams, that it's a very volatile division, and that year to year, the guys who leave and the guys who come in is very uneven because the 4 franchises didn't exist in this time period. So they have to rely on acquiring talent through the extra player card sets that Strat-O-Matic prints, and they don't have a lot of heroes that continue their long careers like traditional Major League teams do. So it really hurt the Rockies this year. Out west, this was the only predictable one, the Padres. It's going to be a long time till Tony Gwynn arrives and guides this team into a World Series, and they're predictably taking their lumps, but they're still a fun team to play. Now, let's go over across into the American League West. The Texas Rangers last year were really a Cinderella surprise team, as Washington Senators, since they really have Washington Senators and Texas Ranger players combined. This year, Ranger team, Frank Howard was unable to duplicate his MVP performance of 2020, and it showed, and the Rangers finished in last place, even behind the Mariners. Now, the next team that got eliminated from the Midwest had a 500 record. So as far as wins and losses, this was the best of the 8 teams, though the Brewers clearly overachieved. They're sort of in the same boat that the Texas Rangers are in. They don't have a fertile farm system feeding them. In the case of the Rangers, they're going to have to wait 2 or 3 more years before guys like Mike Hargrove, Toby Harrah, Jeff Burroughs arrive. And of course, for the Brewers, it's the same thing. The transition from Seattle and Milwaukee is not very smooth, and they're going to have to wait a while till guys like Robin Yount arrive. And then later on in the 70s, they'll end up with Sixto Lezcano, Gorman Thomas, guys like that. So they did get to 500 this year, but they could fall back next year. It's going to be tough. They got to keep finding diamonds in the rough. Now, in this division, American League North, the Cleveland Indians in last place. The Indians and the Tigers, the 2 teams cherry-picked to have success in my realigned carryover league of 32 teams. And why is that? Well, because they don't play in the American League East with the Red Sox, Orioles, and Yankees. They get separated, which clearly gives them an advantage over 2 expansion teams, the Expos and Ohio players. Yet somehow the Indians, even with a stellar Gaylord Perry card of 1972, where he had a 1.92 ERA leading the staff, Cleveland just could not put it together this year. And disappointed at the plate and on the mound. There was no individual culprit that you could point to. And they had a lot of bad luck, lost a lot of close games. And the last eliminated team is in the East. And no surprise here, Toronto Blue Jays, 8 years before they exist. They come aboard, of course, in 1977. And then in 1977, they're going to have 5, 6, 7 rough years before they become competitive, which is right around 1983, 84, 85. So this is going to be a long stretch, but I kind of commend the Blue Jays for playing some tough baseball this year. A very respectable 379 winning percentage. Hopefully all the teams get over 333, and I like to see the worst teams around win 40% of their games. Didn't quite happen here, but it happened here, you know. Happened with the Rangers over there in the National League. The Padres almost got there. So, and the Braves were 441. So, you kind of, the way the league is set up, the competition is there. You don't see teams, you know, playing like the 62 Mets and losing 120 games. The worst teams in baseball still give you a good game, and that's the point. I would not find any joy in seeing a team with like 5 wins and 30 losses. That would not do me any good. It's just a waste of my time to play those games when you know the predicted result. So let's take a look now, moving forward into the up to 5 round and what to expect. So the first divisions, the Eastern divisions, they will play the division they did not play in the regular season, which is the 3rd division, in the case of the American League Midwest and the National League Mountain, accordingly. And the other divisions play. The Norths and the Centrals will play the Wests. And the first place teams play, and the thirds and the second teams play. Which means Boston, with the best record in the American League at 29, will play the Twins, and the Tigers will play the Angels. In the National League, it'll be the Mets taking on Vegas and the Reds taking on the Dodgers. And let's take a peek at the what has to happen in these series. So here's your top seeded teams here, and you factor in the win-loss record when determining what the teams need, because these aren't best of 5s. These are saying you have up to 5 games to distinguish the seeding. So Minnesota is 5 over 500. The Red Sox are 11. That's a net of 3 total games in the standings. So with up to 5 to play, Minnesota would have to win 4 out of 5, which would leave the teams tied, but Minnesota would have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So Minnesota needs to beat Boston 4 out of 5 times. The problem with the Red Sox, they should be able to win the American League East. They probably got a 90% chance to do it. The thing is, they don't really get an opportunity to gain a lot in this series, only to lose a lot. Let's say the Twins go 3-2. So the Red Sox would lose a game in the standings but still win. The Twins, on the other hand, have an opportunity to cement a second seed, which gives them a bye if they just win some games in this series and just kind of push the Red Sox. The same gap exists between Detroit and California. 3 games separate them. Tigers need the same thing. They need to win 4 out of 5. Tigers are sitting at 500 in a terrible division. Look at that division again, and you'll see that the combined win and loss, this division is 17 games under 500, meaning they lost games over here to the National League Central and Interleague, and they lost games to the American League Midwest, which is a strong division, and of course the American League East, which may be the strongest division. So in the National League, Dodgers and Reds, that gap is 2.5 games. So the Dodgers, what they could do is if they win the best of 5, 3-2, that would put the Reds only a half game up, but the Dodgers would have head-to-head. So in this particular series, they're given a tie-breaking game. So the Dodgers would have to win 4 out of 6 against the Reds. And finally, Mets and Vegas are both 500, a simple best of 5. Largely to distinguish a number 3 seed from a number 4 seed. We expect the Mets to handle Vegas, though. If the Mets were to, say, sweep Vegas while a Dodger team struggled, then the Mets could, theoretically, sneak into a number 2 seed and possibly getting that bye. So that's it from the top seeds. And then, of course, all those teams will advance. No clinching is done yet until the end of the tournament. But now here are all the second place teams across the divisions, starting in the American League East, working to the National League West. The number of games over 500 or below 500 they are. And then these are the third place teams playing in those same divisions, where the Easts play, the first division plays the third division, the second division plays the fourth division. In this column over here, this is the combined records of the teams net gain over 500. And the problem that the netted games between poor teams have is that, sure, it would eliminate one of the teams, but the team that advances, there's no guarantee that they will make it all the way to the third round, because only the teams with the top 4 records will advance. So when Seattle, for instance, and the Expos right here combined 4 games under 500, chances are one of these teams is going to have to sweep the other in this best of 5 just to get their record at 500 or above. Because when you look at the White Sox Orioles are 8 over 500 and Yankees Royals 7 over 500. These teams with losing records really need the White Sox and a game under to disappear. It's unlikely the Orioles will fall out of this round with 7 games over 500. The math says they should easily advance. There's a chance the White Sox could beat them, but the Orioles should probably continue their season. And the Yankees and the Royals are 4 and 3 games over 500. So if one of those teams sweeps the other, they're in danger of falling beneath these losing teams. So it's going to be an uphill battle for these losing teams. And the way I do this is I look over to when I'm playing the games in a chronology, I start with the teams with the worst records first. Because after these teams play, the advancing team, I look at the number of games over 500, and that factors into the calculus into the remaining series. It could very well be by the time the Yankees and the Royals and White Sox and Orioles play that they could realize that they're not going to be eliminated, and all they're trying to do is distinguish themselves as who is, Team 5, Team 6, Team 7, and Team 8, because 9, 10, 11, and 12 are these teams with the losing records. It's kind of similar in the National League. Look here. Arizona visits Philadelphia with a combined 6 games under 500. So one of those teams has got to sweep 3-0 to have any chance of continuing into the third round. And when you look at the needs here in this round, we have a 50-50 split of best of fives and outrageous needs of winning 4 out of 5. And winning 4 out of 5 at this level of competition is extremely difficult, particularly if you don't have home field. In the case here, St. Louis has to play 3 of those 5 games in San Francisco. Pittsburgh does have home field. Ohio does not, and they play the Dynasty Oakland A's and have to win 4 out of 5 with 3 of them in Oakland. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And again, the White Sox and the Orioles. This is a mere formality. This is where the Orioles really want to be done with the White Sox immediately. And if the Orioles win 2 straight, and if the Red Sox get dominated by the Minnesota Twins, mathematically, there's a slim chance that the Orioles would retake the Red Sox for first place, moving into the 3rd round of the tournament. At that point, whoever is still playing in the 3rd round of the tournament can leap back into first place again. So the Red Sox could fall into 2nd, be involved in the 3rd round, and then move back into 1st. So that's why we don't clinch things yet. And that's what this format really does is when I say you're playing up to 7 games, we look at that as being like the final 7 games of the season, but it's against the team you want to play, the most competitive matchup available. And then we kind of restart and say, now these are the final 5 games against the team you need to play. And then finally, the final 3 games and the most important, 8, 5, 7, 6. So in essence, every single round of this postseason tournament is like a playoff round. The whole league is based on best of competition. That you're not guaranteed just a general schedule where you play a quota of games. I mean, you keep playing while you have to keep winning to keep playing. Let's go back again to the National League, since we did the American League, and note that here we expect the 2 teams out west, Houston, predictably should be able to hold on to their spot, and the Giants should be able to hold on to their spot. The American League, the Orioles should hang on to their spot. This is an interesting one, Yankees and Royals. It could be that if both those teams don't make it into the 3rd round, they might play again in the 3rd round. If the White Sox, Orioles, Yankees, and Royals all advance, then it could very well be that those same teams play up to 3 games in which the loser would most likely have to run the table. So that's where we're at. When we resume, we are going to start with the top seeded games. Will be the first batch. The first 4 games are played, where nobody gets eliminated, and then after that, then we play the elimination games. And my first battle will be the teams with the best overall record. The Dodgers and Reds will play in the next series. Thanks for checking out the video. We'll see you next time.